We were just fresh off of Pride, and it was a great time for corporations pretending that they're allies on some of the biggest, most important issues that we're currently facing, whether in the case of Pride, it's things like LGBTQ rights or the fight over the future of our democracy and access to substantive voting rights in America. You have corporations doing these big ad campaigns and pretending that they're allies. But then behind the scenes, they're donating money to politicians that are working in the exact opposite direction. And TYT Investigates has been doing some great work to identify some of these cases. Let's talk briefly about a few. So one official who benefited from this is Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich, who won a July 1st Supreme Court decision that may impact judicial interpretations of voting laws around the country. Brnovich was reelected back in 2018 with financial backing from many familiar corporate names. So the Supreme Court decision had to do with two different provisions of Arizona voting law. The first requires officials to throw out ballots cast at the wrong precinct. The second provision prevents ballot harvesting, making it a felony to knowingly collect voted or unvoted early ballots from another person. And the reason that matters is that, especially in Arizona, there are rural or indigenous voters that would theoretically have to drive long distances to be able to turn in their ballots. It's much more convenient, obviously, and financially feasible for them to have groups or individuals help them out in doing that. Now, let's see. The law that the Supreme Court finally ruled on just weeks ago was passed originally back in 2016, and there was concerns ever since. It's been going through the judicial system ever since. 2 years later, this is back in 2018, state campaign disclosures showed that Brnovich's re-election campaign got donations not just from people like the Koch brothers, who you might expect, but from massive mainstream corporations including Pfizer, Verizon, Sprint, JP Morgan, Microsoft, Comcast, Walmart, and CVS. This is some of the biggest corporations, and many of them have been running these ad campaigns to imply that they're on your side. They're not okay with the big election lie and stuff like that. But you had, like back in 2018, JP Morgan gave this one individual politician $4,000. It's fairly significant for a state level position like that. And we've got other examples, we can certainly go to those, but this is an example of the one stance in public that these corporations have, and a very different one when it comes to which sorts of candidates they try to keep in office.
So to me, there's two issues here, this specific issue and then the larger issue. So on the specifics here, another company that gave money to the Arizona Attorney General who wound up eviscerating voting rights was Comcast.
Yep.
So Comcast owns NBC, MSNBC, etc. So look, I get it, man. Comcast is a large corporation, it has a lot of different interests. And although they're mainly a media organization, and not every host on MSNBC is responsible for Comcast's positions, I want to make all of that clear. Now, having said that, yeah, MSNBC's parent corporation is funding Republicans all across the country, including people who are shredding voting rights. And so, I've seen their anchors talk about voting rights. I don't think their anchors are very progressive at all. Half of them are Republicans. A lot of them worked for Bush and Cheney. But they have real progressives and they do talk about voting rights. But they should also apply some internal pressure, right? And say, hey, Comcast, you're making us look ridiculous. Can you please stop giving to people who are actively destroying voting rights while we're going on air and saying we're in favor of voting rights? Okay, but now to the larger issue, which I think is more important. Look at all these companies giving to rando attorney generals in different states. Why? Walmart and CVS and JP Morgan, that's a bank in New York. Comcast is a media company in Philadelphia, right? Why are they giving to the Attorney General of Arizona? Because they're buying everybody. They have financial interests everywhere. Comcast's media also is in Arizona. I'm sure there's some regulations that affect JP Morgan in terms of financial industry in Arizona. And they're like, oh, just in case, let's just purchase all the politicians. Since bribery is legal in America, let's just bribe them all so that in case anything ever comes up that touches our financial interests, they'll know, hey, you better do as you're told, otherwise we won't give you the money you need to get elected. This system is sick, it's diseased, it's completely corrupt. Wolf-pac.com, go join them, wolf-pac.com, and actually make a difference. They're nonpartisan and they're trying desperately to get money out of politics, and they're for real. Otherwise, all these companies are gonna buy every politician on every issue.
And there's a reason why they do that, obviously, because it helps them financially, as Cenk pointed out. I mean, you buy all these politicians and they will reduce your taxes, they'll cut regulations, and they'll give you favorable deals. And so, yeah, it makes total sense to buy everyone. And by the way, to do voter suppression, to support voter suppression, because guess what? That's how Republicans win. It's essentially the only reason Republicans tend to win is by making it so that people can't vote, or they get kicked off their voter rolls, or you've got gerrymandering, or you've got redistricting that turns out to be unfavorable towards Democratic candidates, and who also, by the way, do take a lot of money from these, from organizations like Comcast. And so, yeah, it is a sick, disgusting system. Get the money out of politics. That's the only thing that I can say.
Yeah. Lastly, on the back to this specific issue, understand how this game is played too. So the JP Morgans and the Comcast of the world publicly say, we are in favor of voting rights. They put out statements. We are in favor of voting rights and we don't want those laws passing. We want to include everybody in our democracy. Why? Because they're trying to get Black customers, Latino customers. They're capitalists and they want to get all those people to come and be their customers, right? But then behind the scenes, they go fund Republicans to cut voting rights. Why? Because they need Republicans for tax cuts and deregulation. So they're not actually in favor of voting rights. That's just marketing to trick you into becoming, basically shopping with them and paying them money. But meanwhile, they take some of your money and funnel it back to the Republicans that are taking away your voting rights. And that's a fact. And so, by the way, read the whole article. We'll put in the description box below on YouTube and Facebook. It's from TYT Investigates, our group, and they did a phenomenal job with it. Very proud of them. Exposing corruption all the time. All right, we're out of time. I want everybody to check out Waldorf Nation. Jeff, thanks so much for being on. We appreciate it, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, everybody check out Damage Report. Great show on the network, followed by Indisputable, and now on some days followed by another Young Turks viewer or viewers, Ben Carolla and Raivana, who won our Twitch pitch contest. That's on Twitch, but obviously, and Jeff's got his own show, and John's obviously part of the TYT network, but they also came up as viewers. So I love that we all do this show together. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.